out of pure curiosity and a little bit of boredom, I opened a free coding tutorial online. I know what you're thinking. Wura, why? Honestly, I've asked myself the same question many times. It started simply enough. I had heard people talking about coding the same way adults talk about things they feel young people should care about, but probably don't. I was curious. Not passionately, desperately curious. Just curious enough to open a tab and see what all the noise was about. The tutorial said it was for absolute beginners. It used words like easy, fun, and said just follow along. I followed along. 20 minutes later, I had made exactly one thing appear on a screen. 2 words. It said, "Hello, world." I tried to change it. I tried to change it. And then everything broke. I stared at lines of code that looked like someone had sneezed on my keyboard. I reread the instructions 3 times, watched the video from the beginning, found what I thought was the error, fixed it, and got a completely different type of error message, which, if you haven't experienced before, is a special kind of frustration I have no words to describe. But something changed within the 40 minutes I spent trying to understand why everything shattered. My way of thinking was different. This sounds like something someone says in a motivational video. I know, bear with me. But when you code, you cannot skip steps. The computer does not care how clever you think you are. It does not care if you've had a rough morning or if you meant to type something entirely different. It executes exactly what you give it. Nothing more, nothing less. Which means when something goes wrong, you have to go back. Find out the exact moment things broke. Understand why they broke. Fix it. And try again. Programmers have a word for this process. They call it debugging. And what I discovered, sitting in front of my computer on that otherwise uneventful afternoon, was that I had been doing this my whole life. Every time I had to revise my approach towards a difficult subject, every time a friendship hit a rough patch, and I had to understand where communication broke down, every time a plan failed, and I had to find out and work backwards to find a solution. Life is just debugging, all of it. The difference is that coding made me conscious of this process. It gave me a name to something I've been doing instinctively my whole life. And when you can name something, you can do it on purpose. I want to address the people in the room who just said, "But I'm not a tech person." I hear you. I really do. Because I thought so too. I'm not naturally a technical person. Math is not my first love. I do not dream in spreadsheets. The word algorithms makes me want to take a very long nap. Yet, here I am, telling you that the hour I spent wrestling with a beginner coding tutorial was the most unexpectedly useful things I had done with an afternoon. Not because it made me a tech genius, it absolutely did not, but because of what it taught me about learning itself. Coding isn't really about computers. It's about the way you think, It's about taking something enormous and overwhelming, a problem, a project, a situation even, that seems impossible, and breaking it down into pieces small enough to solve, one at a time. It's about viewing failure not as a verdict on your ability, but as information. This didn't work. Okay, why not? What do I try next? That calm, methodical, refuse to quit approach isn't just useful in technology, it's useful in science, in business, in relationships, in leadership, in every single domain of life where you encounter something difficult, which, if the room permits me to say so, is almost everything. Let me tell you something that happened in my school last term. We were given a group project, a timeline, a deliverable, the usual, 4 of us. But 1 week to the deadline, 2 of our key ideas weren't working. 2 of our teammates wanted to start over completely. One wanted to push through with what we had. Nobody could agree on anything. The energy in the room was, let's say, not compatible. I remember sitting in that room, everyone talking at once, and felt something click into place. This was familiar. This was exactly what that code tutorial had thrown at me. Everything wrong at once, everyone panicking, and the temptation to either abandon everything or push through a broken solution. And one frustrating afternoon taught me that neither of those options really work. So I asked one question. What's the one thing we could fix now that will make everything else better? The room went silent, and we got to work. We finished 2 days early. But I'm not telling you that a beginner coding tutorial fixed our group projects. It didn't. But the lesson it taught me, the patience, the process, the idea that you isolate what is broken first before trying to fix everything else. That was in the room that day, and it helped. Here's something I think adults sometimes forget to tell us. The world we are going to spend our lives in is being built right now, not in the future, now, by people who understand technology, who understand systems, who can tell a machine what to do and have it do it. That world is approaching fast, whether we're ready for it or not. The World Economic Forum said that by 2030, majority of the most in-demand jobs would require some form of digital literacy. Not full-on software engineering, just the basics. How to use data, how to automate processes, how to think like a computer. But 2030 isn't someone else's future, it's ours. And the people building that world don't have to be from Silicon Valley. They don't have to be from London or New York or Tokyo. They can be from Lagos, from Abuja, in this school, in this town. They can be you. They can be me. But only if we start. Now, for those of you thinking, this is why I tell you to drop everything and become a software engineer. I'm not. A mechanic understands an engine without being defined by it. A PhD, a chef, understands chemistry without having a PhD. Coding is a tool, not a destiny. Knowing how to code doesn't mean you have to write it for the rest of your life. But not knowing, having zero understanding of the systems that are quietly running more and more of the world we live in, that is a choice with consequences. And that's a choice I want us to make consciously, not just by default. Don't just scroll, build. Don't just consume, create. Don't just be someone who uses the tools. Be someone who knows them well enough to question them, rethink them, reimagine them even better. I want to go back to that screen. That's one embarrassing small thing I had produced after 40 minutes of confusion, error messages, and talking to myself in frustration. It said, "Hello, world." I hadn't built anything impressive, nothing magnificent. But I had spoken to a machine in its own language, and it had responded. And that, no matter how small, felt like a door opening. Not to a job, not to a qualification, but to a way of thinking I hadn't had access to before. A way of looking at problems and complexity and saying, I can fix this one step at a time, one error at a time. That is not a skill. That is a superpower. And it is available to every single person in this room on the very phone you used to watch videos this morning. So here's my challenge to you. Not to become a coder, not to build anything impressive, just to begin. Spend 1 hour, open one tutorial, write one line of code, watch it appear on a screen, break it, fix it, and notice what happens in your brain when you do. Because when students learn to code, they don't just learn a skill. They learn that the future isn't something that happens to you. It is something you can build. Thank you.